Do you ever scroll through Netflix looking for something to play while you're doing other things, and you find a rom-com that you saw over a decade ago when it first came out, and your first reaction is, this was alright, I think. And your second reaction is, ooh, Ben Affleck was in this. This'll do. And then you play it, and it ends up being nightmare fuel. Well, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Hi everyone, it's LadyJenevia. He's Just Not That Into You came out all the way back in 2009, and as far as I remember, I had not seen it since 2009. And it's very 2009. Drew Barrymore has a MySpace account that she ends up deleting at the end of the film. It's operating in this very weird in-between space when it comes to discussing the mechanics of dating and how it intersects with technology, because on the one hand, it's modern enough that mobile phones and social media exists, but on the other hand, you'll still see a character obsessing over whether or not anyone is calling her on her landline. Yeah. Any of you Gen Zs know what a landline is? Haven't seen one of those in real life in I don't know how long. This film exhausted me in so many ways, but I don't want to nitpick over every issue that I had with it because I'm feeling stubborn enough to not want to give it that much of my energy. I must say though, I gained a whole other dimension to my disappointment when I was looking up trivia about this film when I rewatched it, because I didn't remember that Nancy Juvonen produced it. Nancy, you are a queen and you are better than this. And some of you might be going, who's Nancy Juvonen? Nancy Juvonen is one of Drew Barrymore's long-running collaborators. They worked together to create and produce Charlie's Angels 2000. And if you saw the video that I made about Charlie's Angels 2000, you will know that I hold that film in the absolute highest regard. There is an ensemble of white A-listers playing the lead characters in this film, and their various love stories are connected together through flimsy social threads. These characters work together, these characters are roommates, these characters are friends when it's time to spout some lines to further the film's confused agenda. That's probably why there are so many ridiculous product placements, because someone's got to pay those Caucasian salaries. He's Just Not That Into You is based on a self-help book that I've never read, and based on the contents of this film, I'm going to assume is hot garbage. Self-help books are usually garbage written by people who lack the educational background to advise you with any sort of legitimacy, but what those people who write them lack in credentials, they more than make up for in misplaced confidence. You would think that a book that's meant to give you an insight into human behavior and dating rituals would come from some sort of psychologist, maybe a sociologist, and they would give you information that is not only helpful, but backed up by academic research, studies that have been peer-reviewed. Nope, both of the authors who wrote this book worked on Sex and the City. Okay, one of the authors has a bachelor's degree in theater. I can tell because all you do is create drama, but there's no academic weight to any of these nonsense claims of men do this and women do this in dating rituals. You just perpetuate problems instead of remedying them. The film is sexist to both men and women. It doesn't matter how you identify in regards to gender or sexual orientation, because in this film, you will most likely be portrayed as an idiot, a token or sidekick, or non-existent altogether. I'm not going to rip into every story within the film, even though all of them are, at best, mediocre and cringy, and at worst, downright awful. I don't need to do that to my blood pressure. But also, I can make my points about the film being bad without laying into every single one of those stories. There are 4 main relationship clusters that the film explores, but I am only going to talk about 2 of them. The film is mostly focused on Gigi, who is played by Ginnifer Goodwin. Gigi is sweet and well-meaning, but also tends to be a bit desperate and naive. but she delivers the film's opening and closing narrations, and in general, it's very clear that we're meant to be invested in her getting a happy ending more than anyone else. The film opens with Gigi as a little girl who is attacked by a boy at the playground. He physically and verbally assaults her, and when she tells her mom about it, her mom says, "Oh honey, do you know why that boy did that to you? It's because he likes you." Oh boy, straight culture is so ugly. The heterodacity. See, logically, you would think that an idea as gross as this would be something that Gigi would learn is trash by the end of the film. Well, I'm here to tell you that she absolutely does not, but we'll get to that later. The film then whooshes into a montage of women of varying ages and scenarios discussing their romantic woes with one another. The majority of them are Caucasian, but we do get to see some horrendous depictions of Asian women, more specifically Japanese women, so you know I'm ready to fight right now, and also black women. They show two Japanese women doing what all the Karens and Sharons are doing, lamenting the struggles of dating straight men. However, they are dressed in the most hideous, tacky clothes and hairstyles that are so unrealistic. No Japanese woman would be out with her friends looking like that. Also, one of the actresses is not Japanese at all because Hollywood thinks that we're all interchangeable. Oh, you look vaguely East Asian. You'll do, even though you can't even pronounce so ka correctly. That's not even hard to say. You industry higher-ups make me sick. But if you think that's bad, ooh, wait till you see the misogynoir. The black women who are shown in this montage are discussing their relationship woes, and they are African, in Africa, and I don't know which country they're supposed to be from because they don't care enough about Africans to specify who it is that they're insulting. The subtitles for what these women say to each other are as follows. One woman says,
"I'm sure he just forgot your hut number."
And another woman says,
"Or he was eaten by a lion."
I haven't even gotten into the main stories yet, and I already want to leave. Let me switch gears for a moment and talk about the story Ben Affleck is in because he's one of the only good things in this film. Ben Affleck plays Neil, who is Beth's boyfriend. Beth is played by Jennifer Aniston, and Beth and Neil have been dating for 7 years. The main conflict in their story is that Beth wants to get married, but Neil does not. This story does not translate well culturally. What you need to know about Neil is that he is dreamy. I am not saying that just because I like Ben Affleck. I am saying that because the film gives you an extensive list of evidence to support that claim. He is helpful, considerate, he loves Beth, he's faithful, unlike another man in this film who is trash, but we're not going to be giving him any shout-outs today. The first scene between Beth and Neil introduces this recurring issue that they have. Beth says, "You don't think we're going against nature by not getting married?" Nature? Girl, what are you, a zoologist? Animals don't get married. They mate. Unless you're trying to say you and Neil are like penguins. Maybe you want to see him in a tux and be partnered for life. But you didn't think that one all the way through, now did you? That's what I thought. Neil says he doesn't believe in marriage and makes completely valid points. He says that he doesn't need to pay for a certificate to prove his commitment. Valid. Don't be giving the government money when they're just going to spend it on funding police brutality. He also says that people get married because they think getting married is what they're supposed to be doing. Where is the lie? It's an antiquated ritual in which oftentimes women were traded as property in business deals between men. Here's some land, here's my daughter, give me some money. Neil also tells her,
"We're very happy, I love you, I'm committed to you, we have a great life."
Beth, what are you complaining about? Immediately after this conversation, he also says he's going to make her some more tea. But Beth gets all disillusioned and breaks up with Neil, who, even after being dumped, tells his mate that he still loves Beth and just wants to be with her. He's not interested in running around, hooking up with random women. It's not his vibe. They end up getting back together because Beth's dad has a heart attack and she picks up the slack trying to look after him, while her useless sisters and their caveman husbands do all to help take care of him, nor do they help to tend to the house. Then one day she goes into the kitchen and who's there? Neil. doing dishes. He just did some laundry and he bought some groceries. This man got dumped, but in a time of crisis, he came running and helped with zero expectations of anything in return. After this, she goes to see him on his boat and he tells her,
I can't give you what you want.
to which she says,
You're more of a husband to me not being married than those real husbands are ever going to be.
She was shading her sister's caveman husbands with that line.
And it's enough. It's really enough for me.
So they get back together. That should be the end of it. It's a great resolution to the story. A woman realizes that she has everything she needs to be happy. There is nothing to complain about. But no! Neil does a 180 and proposes. Why? I don't know, because America? As much fun as it might be for some of you to see Ben Affleck on his knees, there is just no logical reason for him to do that in the story. You don't just randomly decide to fundamentally shift a strong philosophy of your life, like whether or not you want to get married. I don't like it. But now, ladies and gentlefolks, let's circle back around to Gigi, because this is where we really dig in. I'm going to try to condense this, so if you want to see the full context, go watch He's Just Not That Into You on Netflix. If it's not showing up in your region, just get a VPN, and boom, there you have it. Gigi's story is mostly intertwined with a man named Alex, who is played by Justin Long. Gigi and Alex strike up an unexpected friendship because he starts giving her dating advice that is mostly about recognizing that the men she's choosing to pursue are not interested in her the way she deserves. Gigi isn't looking for casual hookups. If she was, she wouldn't have a problem. But the men she's choosing are not compatible with her desire for romantic love. Realistically, that seems like a problem you should be dealing with a therapist. Can I ever make it through a review without telling one of the characters to go to therapy? Unlikely. But she has some fundamentally backwards ideas about dating and love, as evidenced by the types of men she goes after, and the fact that her mom told her that men being mean to you is a sign that they like you. No. Bad. She tells Alex at one point,
So now I'm supposed to just run away from every guy who doesn't like me? There's not going to be anybody left.
I know my tone has been fairly facetious with a lot of the critiques I've been giving, but I say this with all seriousness. That's really sad. In this moment, I feel really bad for Gigi as a character. She's always meant well, and you don't want her to be in these situations with terrible men. And yet, the film has her end up with Alex. Yup. So let's go through the list of why Alex sucks. When Alex and Gigi first meet and he's giving her advice about how she needs to not date men that have red flags just because someone you know has a far removed story about someone they knew who ended up making it work and settling down with a man who had those same red flags. He tells her those people are the exception. She says, maybe I'm the exception. And he says, no, you're not. You're the rule. Remember that line, because we will be coming back to it. Alex later tells Gigi,
I once called 55 Lauren Bells until I got the right one.
Gigi asks him what happened, and he says,
as it turns out, her ass looked really huge in the daylight.
In a different scene, Alex tells Gigi,
if a girl likes me, great. But if not, there are plenty more out there like her. You know, probably with smaller pores and bigger implants.
I know damn well that this crusty, ashy-faced man is not out here talking about pore size. Sir, how many steps are in your skincare routine? Do you have any hyaluronic acid in any of those steps? You probably walk outside without even putting any SPF on, so you are not going to drop a line in about pore size and expect me not to say something. And if you're new here, you probably thought I was going to kick off about the breast implants line. No, sort your skincare out. Alex tells Gigi that he befriended her because, and I quote,
I like you the way I like basset hounds. Something pathetic about them. You just want to cheer them up.
Gigi eventually gets suspicious that Alex is interested in her, so she makes a move, and he does not take it well. He lashes out, tries to make her feel foolish for daring to think that he was interested in her, but Gigi's grown some claws, so she scolds him for never putting himself out there emotionally. She points out that women are expendable to him, so even if he never gets hurt, he will never be able to fall in love and get that type of meaningful emotional bond with another person. You would think that the best resolution to this whole journey that she's been on with him would be to realize that she likes herself. She doesn't need to waste her time hoping that men who want casual relationships will change for her, and that it's okay to be single until she meets someone that is worth her time. But do you think that's what happens? It sure isn't. So they stop talking for a bit, and then Alex realizes now that he's been clapped back at. He's actually into her. He's checking his phone, he's leaving embarrassing voicemails. It's a switch. It plays into that really immature, treat him mean, keep him keen idea. Listen, if you think that people treating you terribly means that they love you, go to therapy. So Alex shows up at Gigi's apartment right after she had a date with a nice man, and it went well, and he says to her, "You were right. I got so used to having the power and keeping my distance that I didn't know what it felt like when I finally fell for a woman." He also says that he can do the nice romantic things that she wants, but we've seen no indication that he's capable of any of that. He cuts her off when she's talking to kiss her. Why is that a thing that we are still over romanticizing? Then she says to him, "I'm the exception." And he says, "You are my exception." Why is this supposed to be a satisfying outcome to their entanglement? You are my exception. Because this man has been repeatedly misogynistic, and that doesn't just magically go away because he decided that he wanted to date the one woman who clapped back at him. Here's the thing. I don't care that he wants to be involved in casual relationships. If that's what you want to do, just do that. But you've made a point of repeatedly saying in this film that straight women should not continue to waste their time on straight men who are not interested in pursuing the type of relationship that they are. And to stop thinking that they can change them just because they've heard about a random instance in which a similar set of circumstances worked out in the end, romantically speaking. That's not bad advice, and yet the film contradicts its own message by having your main leading lady get the guy who didn't even want to get involved in the first place, romantically speaking. The film lies to its hetero audience the way these characters lie to each other. But we're supposed to be happy that Alex decides he wants to date Gigi just because you've got Keen's Somewhere Only We Know blasting very loudly over the scene. Don't bring Keen into this. What did they ever do to you? The heterodacity. Speaking of the soundtrack, though, the film ends with Erin McCarley's Love Save the Empty playing, and that song is fantastic, as is her entire Love Save the Empty album, which I was obsessed with back when it came out. So if you have never streamed that album, go stream it now. As much as I don't like this film, the two great takeaways you can get from watching it are, number one, Ben Affleck being dreamy as hell, and number two, realizing that you need to go stream Erin McCarley's Love Save the Empty album. That's all I've got for today. Be sure to like this video since it really helps out my channel, subscribe since I've got more videos coming, and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Vero. See you in the next one. Bye.